Football, as we know it, is broken. I genuinely do not and probably cannot understand what is going on in the game. This transfer window, the astronomical, ridiculous, exorbitant fees that are being paid for players that are obviously not worth those amounts of money. It's breaking the transfer window, and it has broken it. It's broken. Where does one even start from? Morgan Rodgers for 117 million, Elliot Anderson for 116, Sandro Tonali 100 million, Enzo Fernandez, by the time you're watching this video, would have probably been sold to City for another 130 million. Savinho going from City to Tottenham for 85 million pounds. Mateus Fernandes going from a relegated side to Tottenham for another 85 million pounds. Morgan Rodgers going for 117 million British pounds broke the British transfer window just weeks after Elliot Anderson going from Forest to City broke it. And by the time you're watching this video, Enzo Fernandez would have probably broken that record again. That would be 3 times in a single window. Listen to this crazy stat. Every single one of the 10 most expensive Premier League transfers in history has happened in the last 5 years. No, that's not just simple inflation. That's a system that is completely broken. My number one problem with these exorbitant transfer fees is not necessarily that the players are bad. Signing a player for 100 million euros used to mean something. It used to mean that the players were not just players who raise the floor of your team. They used to be players who raise the ceiling of the team. Players who by themselves have the ability to win games by themselves. That's what 100 million pounds used to signify. And if you look through, the past, before this last 5 years, what 100 million pounds used to be, you look at the likes of Neymar going for I think even above 200 million euros. Neymar is a player that can win a game by himself. Gareth Bale, which was actually not up to 100 million pounds, but very close to that, was that kind of player as well. Even Eden Hazard, who went from Chelsea to Real Madrid for less than 100 million pounds, but actually the add-ons could rise up to 130 million pounds. Those were the kinds of players. Philippe Coutinho, who went from Liverpool to Barcelona, those were the kinds of players that went for 100 million pounds. Players who had the ability to win a game by themselves, that raised the ceiling of a team, not just raising the floor. Even if you use the example of Jack Grealish, who went from Villa to City, you can argue that yes, it didn't quite work out when Grealish was at City. Yeah, but while Grealish was at Villa, he was the kind of player who could win a game by himself. I'm talking about, again, players that raise the ceiling of a team, not necessarily raising the floor. But that's not the case. Take a look at the kinds of players that go for at least 100 million pounds now. Let's start with Sandro Tonali. Is Sandro Tonali a good player? Oh, yes. Is he an exceptional player that raises the ceiling, that has the ability to win a game all by himself, that can score goals and create goals and just like lift a team just by himself? Is he that kind of player? Hell no. Elliot Anderson, is he that kind of player? No, sir. Even Morgan Rodgers, who is a very good player, very, very good player, and probably could get to that level where he's a game winner by himself. But right now, he's not at that level. So my question is, when did 100 million pounds start to become the price for a good midfielder, an above average midfielder, an above average attacker? When did that happen? And you see, if you ask me, I think the problem started when Manchester City bought Elliot Anderson for 160 million pounds, because that just told us that this is the new benchmark for signing a player that is above average. And Elliot Anderson is a very good player. This is not me playing down his abilities. He's a very good player, but he's not that kind of player that is traditionally supposed to be 100 million pound player. And now, just weeks after Anderson went for that price, Aston Villa were adamant that they will not allow Rodgers to go for, less than Anderson went for, because they believed Rodgers was a better player than Anderson. And so Chelsea had to pay 1 million more than that and got him for 170 million pounds. So that has already established that for you to buy any player that is even something of a good player, bordering towards a great player, then the least to even start a discussion, you have to have 100 million pounds on the table. And that is going to lead us to have a very vicious cycle, which I'm going to explain shortly. Now, let me paint this scenario. Club A needs a player. They need to address an issue in their team, and they go to Club B and say, hey, we like this player. We think this player solves our issues. Would like to purchase him. And they say, well, if you want our player, you're going to need to pay 150 million pounds, for instance. And they say, well, we really, really need this player. We have the money. So let's just pay. Let's pay it. The problem is that they're not just paying for that player. They are going to actually be paying for future transfers. Because this is how it works. Now, that transfer happened between Club A and Club B. But Club C has seen that transfer. And they've looked at their own players and they're like, what do you mean? If this player from Club B goes for 150 million pounds, what do you mean? We have quite a few players that are a lot better, or at least even maybe around, at least the same ability, maybe not even better, but at least close to the ability of this player. Surely our own player has to go for that amount. And then their own players start to go for that amount. And then other clubs see that and they're like, okay, that's the standard now. Let's keep doing that. And that's exactly what is happening. The funny thing is this, even the club that initially sold their player for an exorbitant fee, they also get to pay for it, because it feels like the club that is making money from it is just making money, like they don't have anything to lose, but they're actually going to they're going to lose at the end of the day. Because take a look at this example. Nottingham Forest signed or sold Elliot Anderson to Manchester City for 160 million pounds, right? And that triggered a chain of other transfers with exorbitant fees, astronomical fees. Yeah. But guess what? Now Nottingham Forest need a striker, and now they've gone to Chelsea to ask for to try to enter into negotiations for Liam Delap. And Liam Delap, who was signed for 30 million pounds from Ipswich last year and scored 2 goals in over 40 appearances for Chelsea, who is obviously not the best striker in the world. If you ask me, below average for what a Premier League standard striker should be. But how much did he go for? It went for 50 million pounds for 2 reasons. First, because of the chain of events that was triggered by that same Forest selling Anderson to Manchester City. And secondly, because, everybody knows now that if you want to buy even the list of players, you're going to have to bring out 50 million pounds because of that chain of events. Admittedly, it did not just start with Nottingham Forest. Liverpool went absolutely bonkers last, season, signing everybody for 100 million pounds. I'm exaggerating, but yeah, that's pretty much what they did. So this is what I'm talking about. One club sells one player for an astronomical fee, and then every target in the market, every player in the market, all of a sudden becomes, more expensive than they're supposed to be. It's not sustainable. It cannot continue, especially in the Premier League, where every team has money. I mean, take a look at Leeds United, who just came up to the Premier League, last year, pretty much. Now they just signed a goalkeeper for 50 million. Look at that. Everybody has money. And so because everybody has money, if we continue like this, we're going to break this league in such a way that will be almost unrepairable. And I know what some fans will come to tell me now and say, hey, Chelsea can spend that amount of money. Manchester City can spend that amount of money because they have net spend. They sell their players and all of that. Well, you have a point, but that's not actually my point, because it is true that net spend matters, but it is also true that gross transfer inflation is also a factor in this situation. Because if everybody starts buying and selling at inflated prices, the market gets affected. It's not a matter of net spend. The market is affected and the fees only keep going higher. So I'm not saying that the clubs do not have money. What I'm saying is that the prices do not make sense. Another problem I see with this crazy phenomenon is that the moment Premier League clubs realize that, hey, if you have a player from your academy who is an average player at best, and you just develop him to have just one season that he has good numbers, you are in it big time, because you would make a crazy profit from that player. And that is slowly going to become the reason why a lot of people, get into the academy football. You are also going to see that a lot of people that have no business buying football clubs, because they have no idea on how to grow the game, on how to benefit the game, right? They will start buying football clubs. Why? Because they want to make money from it. They know how easy it is to get profit from it. They will start to buy football clubs. And the moment that happens, the game suffers even more. Football academies are meant to produce professional footballers, not to make profit for the clubs or for the owners of the club. But that is going to be what will happen. Watch it. In fact, it has even already started to happen because of the whole PSR regulations and whatnot. And don't even get me started on PSR. Yeah, that's probably talk for another day. It's already happening. Academies have become a simple money-making machine. Just produce players and sell them. We've seen a lot of teams that make a model out of that. That's their club model. Produce players and just sell them. Just keep selling them and make money off it. And before anybody comes to tell me that, hey, this is just a Manchester United fan being bitter because your club does not have the money to, pay the transfers that other teams. See, United have done this before, and I did not agree with it at the time. We've paid exorbitant money for players. We bought Anthony for over 80 million. We bought Sancho for 75 million. We've spent useless money. We've spent stupid money. Yeah, and even then we didn't agree with it. And guess what? It didn't work. If you go and check it, all the way down to Liverpool last season, there are very very few examples of a team going all out to spend exorbitant amount of money to build a team and it worked. There are very few. If you go and check the percentage, you'll be surprised. PSG tried it. It didn't work. Liverpool, of course, perfect example in recent memory. They imploded last season after spending almost £500 million. So yes, Manchester United we have first-hand experience of what happens not just to the team, but to the club when you overpay for players. Till today, the reason Manchester United, which used to be the richest club in the world, the reason we're in a situation where we're saying we do not have money is because of what we did before. Because of how we paid ridiculous prices for players in the past. And like I said before, my biggest fear is that if football is seen as a business where, assets are this sellable and you can generate enormous profits from selling the assets of clubs, you're going to see people come to buy football clubs. And we've started to see it already. People buying football clubs, people that have no business they don't know football, they don't watch football, they're not football fans. You see them buying football clubs. Why do you think they are buying football clubs? They have no business there. They have no business in contributing to the growth of the game, to the development of football academies, to the development of grassroots, the game at the grassroots level. They're there for the money. They're there to make profit. And we've gotten to the point where the football, the actual football is now secondary. It's just about making profits and selling players and make turnovers after turnovers after turnovers. We can't continue like this. There has to come a point where the football authorities, the regulatory bodies recognize that what is happening currently is getting really detached from the sporting reality. What we have seen in this transfer window is not for the benefit of the game. It doesn't benefit the game in any way, shape or form. It doesn't help the players because of the enormous pressure that is put on them by being that kind of, £100 million asset. It doesn't help the club in the long run. It doesn't help academies. It doesn't help the spirit of competition. It doesn't help the game in any way. And so something must be done about it. If we allow this to continue unchecked, if we allow this phenomenon to progress more than this, I worry for what football would be in 10 years from now, because we are about to lose the game as we know it. Football is about to be broken, more irreparably so. But what do you think? I'd like to get your opinion on this. Do you think that this is just part of the evolution of the game, or do you think, like I think, that there is something fundamentally wrong and something must be done very fast about this? I would like to know what you think. Do get into the comments and let's have a chat about this. Please also like the video and subscribe to the channel. Share it to fellow football lovers. Let's have a discussion about this topic, and I'll see you on the next one. Adios.